effort over talent is one of life's most powerful truths, because while natural ability can give someone a head start, it is hard work that carries them to the finish line, and the difference between those who rise and those who fall is rarely how gifted they were, but how much effort they were willing to put in when things became difficult, when the initial spark of excitement faded, and when the journey stretched longer than expected. Talent may shine brightly at first, but without discipline and persistence it fades quickly, while effort builds resilience, carves character, and creates momentum that talent alone can never sustain, because showing up consistently, day after day, even when motivation is low, creates habits that outlast fleeting inspiration and strengthen the mind to endure setbacks and disappointments, teaching us that growth does not come in sudden leaps, but in steady progress, in the patient work that goes unnoticed, and in the choice to keep going when quitting feels easier. Effort teaches humility because it requires us to confront our weaknesses, to wrestle with failure, and to accept that mastery is not a gift but the result of thousands of repetitions, each one imperfect yet each one essential. And it teaches courage because it demands vulnerability, the willingness to risk falling short, to embrace discomfort, and to acknowledge that there are no shortcuts worth taking. History is filled with stories of people who were not the most talented but who outworked everyone else, who understood that talent might open doors but only effort keeps them open, and that while brilliance dazzles for a moment, grit endures for a lifetime. Effort builds a foundation of consistency that no one can take away. It creates trust within ourselves, because we know we can rely on our own dedication, and it gives us freedom because our progress does not depend on luck or circumstance, but on the work we are willing to put in. Resilience is born from this effort because every time we choose to keep going after a setback, we reinforce the truth that we are stronger than we think, and little by little effort compounds until the impossible becomes achievable, until what once seemed out of reach is now within our grasp. And in that moment we realize that talent may have sparked the journey, but effort built the road that carried us there. Discomfort is growth because every meaningful step forward in life demands that we move beyond what feels safe and familiar, and while the instinct to avoid struggle is natural, true progress only happens when we lean into it, when we allow ourselves to face the friction, the uncertainty, and vulnerability that growth requires, because comfort zones may feel secure, but they are also silent prisons where potential withers and dreams remain untested. Discomfort stretches us. It pulls us into spaces where we are challenged to rise above our own excuses, where fear and doubt try to convince us to stop, yet pressing forward through that unease creates transformation that no shortcut can provide, and the very moments that feel the hardest, the failures, the rejections, the exhausting efforts that seem to yield nothing, are the moments where resilience is being forged and strength is being born, teaching us that every scar is proof not of weakness but of courage to face what most would avoid. Growth requires a willingness to sit with the unknown, to endure the awkwardness of learning something new, to risk falling and still standing again, and in doing so we discover parts of ourselves that would have stayed hidden had we chosen comfort, because every struggle reveals a deeper capacity for endurance, creativity, and persistence that we never would have tapped into otherwise. Discomfort strips away illusions of ease and entitlement, replacing them with the hard-earned confidence that comes only from experience. And while the world often celebrates the end result, the true transformation happens in the middle of the battle, when our bodies ache, our minds resist, and yet we refuse to retreat, because it is in that fire that character is forged, patience is stretched, and courage is proven. Leaning into discomfort doesn't mean recklessly seeking pain, but choosing to stay present in the challenge long enough to be shaped by it. To understand that the butterflies in our stomach before a big step forward are not signs to run but signals that we are alive, moving towards something bigger, and that growth is not supposed to feel easy because it is rewriting who we are and preparing us for who we are meant to become. The truth is, if we only ever choose the path of least resistance, we remain the same, but if we allow ourselves to embrace hard, uncomfortable, uncertain moments, we step into a life of deeper strength, truer confidence, and authentic progress that can never be built in comfort. Small steps matter because success is never the product of one grand gesture or a single moment of brilliance, but rather the quiet, consistent accumulation of daily choices and disciplined actions that slowly, almost invisibly, reshape our lives. And while we often imagine achievement as a sudden leap, the truth is that every meaningful transformation is built one step at a time, through the habits we cultivate, the priorities we honor, and the discipline we practice when no one is watching. A small step may seem insignificant in the moment, but repeated faithfully, it compounds into progress that is impossible to ignore, just as drops of water carve stone not through force but through persistence, teaching us that change doesn't require perfection, only commitment, and that the smallest acts of consistency are infinitely more powerful than the occasional bursts of inspiration that fade as quickly as they come. Each morning decision to rise a little earlier, each extra hour dedicated to learning, each choice to stay focused when distraction tempts us is a seed planted, and over time these seeds grow into habits that shape character and create momentum, moving us forward. Even when motivation wanes, the power of small steps is that they are accessible to everyone. No one can control luck, but everyone can control effort. And when we recognize that greatness is not about what we do once, but about what we do repeatedly, we free ourselves from the illusion that success belongs only to the extraordinary, realizing instead that it belongs to those who keep showing up. Setbacks will come, and in those moments small steps matter even more, because even the tiniest movement forward during difficult seasons keeps us from standing still, reminding us that progress is not always visible, but it is always building, and that resilience is strengthened each time we choose to take another step, no matter how small. And when we look back after years of steady effort, we see how those little choices, once invisible, have become the defining force of our story, proving that success was never about sudden breakthroughs, but about patience, discipline, and the courage to trust the process of putting one foot in front of the other, day after day, until the vision we once only dreamed of has become the reality we now live. Failure as a teacher is one of the most valuable lessons that hard work offers, because no matter how carefully we plan or how much talent we possess, setbacks are inevitable, and the difference between those who rise and those who quit is not that one group avoids failure, but that they choose to learn from it rather than be defined by it, seeing in each disappointment not a dead end but a stepping stone toward growth, because failure strips away illusions, confronts us with our weaknesses, and demands that we adapt, improve, and try again with greater wisdom and resilience. It humbles us, reminding us that effort, not entitlement, is what carries us forward, and in that humility lies the strength to continue despite the sting of loss or rejection, because every misstep contains a lesson about what works, what doesn't, and who we are becoming in the process. When we pour ourselves into hard work, we inevitably stumble, but those stumbles are not wasted if we allow them to refine rather than crush us, because each mistake holds the seeds of progress, and each setback sharpens the perseverance we need to endure the long road of growth. The person who never fails is not the one who succeeds, but the one who never tries, and so every failure is proof that we dared to risk, that we had the courage to step beyond comfort and face the unknown, and that courage itself is a form of success even before the final goal is reached. The beauty of failure as a teacher is that it toughens us without hardening us, teaching us empathy for others in their struggles, patience with ourselves in our imperfections, and clarity about what truly matters, because when dreams are tested by difficulty, we discover whether they are shallow desires or deep callings worth fighting for. In time, looking back, we often see that our greatest growth did not come in the moments of ease, but in the moments when we were knocked down and chose to rise again, stronger, wiser, and more determined, and that the very obstacles we once resented became the foundations upon which we built our resilience. Failure is not the enemy of success, but its companion, shaping us into people capable of handling victory with gratitude, humility, and strength. And when embraced as a teacher, it turns every setback into preparation for the breakthrough that lies ahead. Integrity in effort is the quiet, often invisible force that separates fleeting success from lasting accomplishment, because hard work is not measured by applause or recognition, but by the commitment we make to ourselves to show up fully, even when no one is watching, and it is in those unseen moments, the extra hour spent learning, the choice to stay disciplined when shortcuts tempt us, the decision to honor our responsibilities despite fatigue or distraction, that character is built and our potential is realized. True effort is not performative, it is personal, rooted in a sense of responsibility and a refusal to settle for half measures, and it teaches us that consistency matters more than occasional brilliance, that persistence matters more than talent, and that trust in ourselves is earned through repeated actions aligned with our values, not through the validation of others. Integrity in effort demands courage because it asks us to resist the easy path, to do the right thing even when the outcome is uncertain, to continue when no one will notice our struggle or applaud our persistence, and in doing so we develop an inner authority, a confidence that comes not from external approval but from knowing we are living in alignment with our principles and our highest potential. It teaches patience because real growth takes time, and it teaches humility because the rewards of consistent effort are often delayed, and when we embrace this kind of work, we discover that satisfaction comes not from recognition but from the knowledge that we have honored our commitment to ourselves and the process, that we have invested in the unseen, the uncelebrated, and the foundational work that makes success sustainable. Integrity in effort also shapes our relationships with others because the discipline, honesty, and dedication we cultivate spill over into how we support, collaborate, and lead, modeling for those around us that excellence is not an act but a habit, a series of choices that reflect who we are when no one is paying attention. Value of showing up fully is that it prepares us for the moments that matter most, when visibility, pressure, and opportunity intersect, because the habits we form in solitude are what carry us through high-stakes challenges, allowing us to perform not by chance but by preparation, and it teaches us resilience as we learn to trust that consistent, principled effort will yield results over time, even if the path is long and the progress invisible. Ultimately, integrity in effort transforms the way we see work, success, and ourselves because it reframes achievement as a reflection of character rather than circumstance, a measure of dedication rather than luck, and a testament to the value of showing up fully, consistently, and authentically in every moment, regardless of recognition or reward. And in living this way, we discover that the power of hard work lies not just in what it produces externally, but in how it shapes us internally into people capable of sustaining greatness, handling adversity with grace, and leaving a legacy defined by substance rather than spectacle. The legacy of effort is one of the most profound truths about hard work, because every moment we commit ourselves fully, every hour we dedicate to growth, learning, and meaningful action, creates ripples that extend far beyond our immediate lives, shaping not only our own future, but opportunities, inspiration, and pathways for those who come after us. And while it is tempting to view our efforts as isolated or personal, the reality is that the diligence, discipline, and persistence we cultivate are like seeds planted in soil that will nourish others long after we are gone. Because the standards we set, the habits we model, and the integrity with which we pursue our goals send a silent message to everyone who observes, consciously or unconsciously, showing them what is possible when commitment meets action. The sweat we invest today is not merely labor. It is investment in influence, a demonstration that success is rarely instantaneous and never accidental. And it teaches those who follow that resilience, courage, and perseverance are achievable through deliberate, sustained effort, not luck or shortcuts, and that the path to mastery is walked one step at a time through consistency and dedication, even when the journey is difficult, unseen, or unrewarded in the moment. Legacy of effort is also about responsibility, because the work we do today creates opportunities, sets expectations, and establishes benchmarks for others, whether in our families, our communities, or our professions. And when we embrace the discipline of showing up fully, we inspire a culture of accountability and ambition that transcends our individual lives, proving that influence is earned as much by what we do in quiet diligence as by what we achieve publicly, and that the impact of our labor is multiplied when it is grounded in values, ethics, and intentionality. Each challenge we overcome, each habit we refine, and each act of perseverance not only moves us closer to our own goals, but demonstrates to others the power of persistence, the necessity of patience, and the importance of striving with integrity. And over time, these actions accumulate into a legacy that shapes the mindset, work ethic, and aspirations of those who witness or inherit the results, teaching them that effort is not temporary but generational, that the principles we live by can outlast us if we invest our energy wisely and consistently, and that true accomplishment is measured not solely by personal success, but by the doors it opens for others. When we recognize that the sweat we pour into our endeavors today becomes the foundation for someone else's tomorrow, we begin to approach work differently, understanding that the choices we make, the persistence we demonstrate, and the discipline we uphold are far more significant than they seem in the moment, because legacy is built in the accumulation of daily actions, in the courage to keep going when it is hard, and in the quiet commitment to doing our best even when no one notices. And it is through this understanding that we realize the true power of hard work lies not just in what it accomplishes for us personally, but in how it shapes the future, inspires those who follow, and leaves behind a standard of effort, integrity, and resilience that continues to influence long after we have walked the path ourselves.